Hello, and welcome to my industry case study. My name is Camerin Cain, and today I would like to talk to you about my dream job. So, to start off with, my dream job is to actually become a studio engineer or a musician. I personally think that the job of a studio engineer would be a lot of fun. I would love to work with other musicians to get their songs the way they want them or the way that they hear them in their head. And then with the musician, I would love to just do that on my own as well. I play guitar, I play a few instruments, but my primary instrument is guitar. But I would love to work on music on my own, for my own music, and I think that'd be a lot of fun. But I think it'd be fun to work with other musicians as well. Now, one of the two career paths that I chose was recording engineer, um, which is pretty much you're the guy that is setting up all the microphones and basically just helping the band get where they want, like get the sound they're looking for, whether that be playing drums in a different area, like setting the drum kit up somewhere else. But they also their main job is to record the songs, and then for the most part, kind of mix them pretty good, like good enough, and then they send it off to the mixing engineer. Um, but in most cases, the recording engineer can actually mix as well, so it's not all just one person doing everything. But it's not two people doing everything. Sometimes can just be one person doing everything. Now, the next career path that I chose was a front of house engineer. Um, with the role of a front of house engineer, for the most part, you are working with live events. You are mixing audio that is being performed live. A lot of things that you will see with an audio engineer is they are typically in kind of like they're in typically, I think, the monitor booth, or where their monitor area, where they will monitor the sound. They make sure that it sounds good and that it's being EQ'd and blended very well so that the audience can hear, that it's more clear to the audience, and it's not all um, just poorly mixed. They typically will mix it very well. And for the career path of a front of house engineer, they don't really need all that much um, experience, or not so much experience. They need experience. They don't really look for a degree in it as much as they do with like a recording engineer. Um, with a recording engineer, you actually do need to have a form of, like, you do need to go for a degree. But the front of house engineer, it's not entirely needed. They look for more experience, but it is also good to have a degree. Now, this here pretty much goes right into the what I was just saying previously about the recording engineer, kind of like what you may need education wise. The education needed for a career as a recording engineer would be a bachelor's degree in audio production, music theory, and sound engineering. Now, I'm not entirely sure if you need all three of those. I don't think so. I think you can pass with just one of those. I think it would be crazy to get all three because that would be a lot of money. But I think those three specifically, um, out of any of those three, you can get really whatever degree you'd like in that. And then obviously, like, they would most likely like to see that you have some form of experience in the field itself. As of right now, personally, I do not have the kind of experience that a recording engineer may have. I'm still working on it as I am still in school. But I think I'm getting there progressively, and I'm starting to learn a whole lot more. Now, the front of house engineer, as I had mentioned earlier, you don't necessarily need a degree, according to the research that I have done. which you'll see my citations later. You don't necessarily need a degree for it. It's definitely beneficial, but they look more for experience, and just for them to know that you have the experience and you know what you're doing, while you're on the job. Um, and with this goes the same as the recording engineer. Personally, I do not have any experience mixing live sound or doing anything for any form of live event. But I think it would be a lot of fun to mix for like more musicians that I would listen to. I think it would be really cool to be a part of that whole process of being a part of that entire show, and making sure that everybody who is there to enjoy the concert is hearing the music very clearly, and well mixed. Now, one of the inspirational stories that I chose was for the recording engineer was Steve Albini. Now, I have known about Steve Albini for a while now. I am a big fan of punk, grunge, and classic rock music, and just rock music in general. Steve Albini played for a band named Big Black, and he then became the recording engineer for Nirvana's not one of, but Nirvana's last project, In Utero. He was there. He actually recorded that album for Nirvana, which I thought was very cool. But he's also worked with many different artists, as you can see. He's worked for like the Pixies and the Breeders, and he's worked for many different bands. Um, and I will say, I specifically chose Steve Albini because I have known about him for a while, and he's kind of the person who inspired me to do recording engineer work, as well as just really kind of go for like the audio production course rather than the music production course, which I was previously in. But he's the main inspiration for why I am doing music and doing recording stuff like that. For my next inspirational story, this is the front of house engineer career path. I chose the front of house engineer Dave Rat. Um, yes, Dave Rat. He works primarily at this point. I believe he's been working with the Red Hot Chili Peppers for about 25 years or so. But he has worked for many bands, many very popular bands, such as Soundgarden and Rage Against the Machine, and one of my personal punk favorites, Black Flag. I think that's very cool because I've seen a lot of their old concerts through just YouTube and everything, and to know that potentially Dave Rat was the one doing the mixing I think that's very awesome and very interesting. And that's he's kind of one of the main reasons I would like to try out the front of house engineer position. And that is all for my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it very much. Thank you so much, and bye bye.